From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. And it is Wednesday, the 12th of April, man. We are smooth. We are moving through this month, and we are moving through it pretty quickly as well, too. So we are only a week away from the big fight in Vegas with Tank and Ryan Garcia. And we're like a few weeks away from the big fight with Loma and Tank. And then my man Rolly's even fighting on the 13th as well, too. But we'll talk boxing and everything like that tomorrow when we talk about the Joe Joyce fight that's going down this weekend. But let's talk about the NFL draft. The NFL draft has been very, it's been a little quiet. Let's keep it real. It's been a little quiet, but it's starting to pick up a little bit. We know that the Panthers went ahead and made their significant moment with trading with the Bears, moving from 9 to 1. Now, who's going to move from these next picks? I would say 4, 7, or 10. Who's going to be moving up to number 3 possibly? Right now, you know, you got the Raiders. Of course, they're going to be spoken about in the mix because it's the Raiders, and you know how the Raiders get down, and you know what the Raiders do, and you know, pretty much the Raiders, you know, every Raider fan thinks that they need a quarterback, you know, and we know that that's far from the case with the Raiders. The Raiders do not need a quarterback because they already have one in Jimmy G. And they do need a quarterback. Okay, let's not say they don't need a quarterback, but this group of quarterbacks that they have here in this top 10 group do not fit the Raiders at all. Let's just keep it real. CJ Stroud would not be a good fit for the Raiders because the way that their coach coaches. Bryce Young wouldn't be a good leader for the Raiders because he's too good of a guy, and the Raiders fans will be asking him to do Kenny Stabler stuff on the first game of the season. Will Levis is a guaranteed backup, in my opinion. He's a guy that can probably be in the league for 10 years, but not as a starter. And then Anthony Richardson is just too much of a question mark. And you really don't want to fail on something like that because you're trying to duplicate something that, you know, is like the flavor of the month right now in the NFL. You know, so pretty much the Raiders really need to look at that second tier of quarterbacks that's going to be available in the upcoming rounds after the first round. And I keep throwing a name out there, Jake Hafner, who would be perfect for the Raiders in a developmental role, a guy that you would have there as a backup, a guy that will possibly just step in the moment that it's time to step in and take over. Jimmy G is not here for a stopgap type situation at quarterback. They're putting in Jimmy G with the full-on idea that they're going to be able to compete next season with Jimmy G as the quarterback. So I truly do feel like going to a rookie quarterback early in the draft is not going to be a good idea for the Raiders. You have to keep your quarterback confident. Now, if you take Hafner in the second or third round, that it's all good. You know, you didn't take him in the first round, so it's not going to be an obligation that you have to start him right away, you know, if you take him in the top 10. And I truly do feel that the Raiders moving up to 3 would be more about getting Jalen Carter at the 3 spot because we pretty much have came to the fruition that we're probably going to have 2 quarterbacks taken off the board to start this draft off. But you know that Houston does have more first-round draft picks as well, too. So they don't have to necessarily settle in on a quarterback. But that is the consensus right now that Young will go to the Panthers, and you would have CJ Stroud go to the Texans. And I think that makes total sense. But say the Texans decide to take a defensive lineman, which would be Jalen Carter, then that's when you say, okay, the Raiders might want to go ahead and get a little risque and give up some things. But still, in that case, I just wouldn't do it, because then that just means that all what happens is that CJ would just land to the Indianapolis Colts, which is a much better landing spot for him than with the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm not trying to say that the Raiders are not a good franchise. We all know what type of franchise the Raiders are. We don't have to sit up in here and act like, that there's some pristine franchise. They're toxic, okay? And we know that. And you just don't want guys that are kind of mentally fragile to be with the Raiders. And I feel like, in a sense, these guys have never failed. These top picks, the top two picks. So coming to the Raiders and failing wouldn't be an option. And failing with the Raiders seems to be like the forthright of any Raider player over the last 25 years. You're going to have some type of failure, some type of day where the fans are going to really question you. And I don't know if these guys are ready for any of that. I think that if you go with a guy like Jake Hafner, a kid that grew up in the Bay Area, grew up in Central California, all that good stuff, he understands the politics of the situation. I think that would be the perfect pick for the Raiders. I know that I keep going back to him, but he was probably, when I cut on the film, there's just nobody more impressive. And I think that, just because he went to Fresno State, that means absolutely nothing, in my opinion. And I just think that you just need to go with tradition. You didn't, you got Fresno State's last really great quarterback. That worked out okay for you. Now, if you go ahead and get their next great quarterback, this could probably be the guy that you thought Derek Carr could be. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But that's some updated draft news. And with that, pretty much that's what we have. And we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into the state of the Lakers. The Lakers get a big win last night. They won the game 108-102 last night. Big moments for a lot of guys last night, especially Dennis Schroeder, who absolutely brought the Lakers back. The Lakers were down 10 points, and he came in there and scored 7 right away. Lakers even got down as bad as 15 points. And Schroeder came into the game and literally took over the game in the second half. And he had an ankle injury as well, too. He was able to get 21 points off the bench yesterday, hit 3 of 4 from the three-point line. And the key factor was him hitting 8 of 8 from the free throw line as well, too. And the Lakers yesterday at the free throw line were absolutely incredible, 22 of 24. I think that was a big reason why the Lakers won that game, too, yesterday as well. But you got 21 from Schroeder, you got 30 from LeBron, 30, 10, and 6 from LeBron, to be exact. And he had 2 blocks yesterday and also 5 turnovers. Now, AD had 24, 15, and 4 yesterday, and he had 5 turnovers as well, too. So that was a little critical. And then they had their 5 scorers in double figures as well, too. The Lakers are always good when they got scorers in double figures. They didn't get much from D'Angelo Russell yesterday either. D'Angelo Russell only scored 2 points. 2 points. He went 1 of 9 yesterday, so that wasn't good. But he did have 8 assists yesterday, and they got absolutely nothing from Vanderbilt. Just 3 rebounds and a block. That's it. But, he plays great defense and all that good stuff. But I still think that, maybe starting Hachimura might be the better option right now. But Hachimura went ahead and got his 12 points yesterday as well, too. He wound up hitting 2 critical threes there down the stretch in that game as well, too. Wish he would have been able to take it to the rack just a little bit more yesterday to get himself some more points. I think that's something that he might need to key in on the next game. Troy Brown was pretty good as well, too. He had 4 rebounds and a few assists. He did decent. And then Malik Beasley hit one of the bigger threes that got the Lakers back into the game late in the game last night. But you can see that these minutes are starting to decrease a little bit. LeBron played 45 minutes last night. That's a lot. That's a lot on a guy that's almost 40 years old. Seriously, that's a lot of time that you're putting on LeBron. Darvin Ham's going to have to figure out how to really reduce his minutes, because at the end of the day, the Lakers are still playing great basketball, even when LeBron's on the bench. It seems like they get a little stagnant when LeBron's in the lineup, and I think they still need him, but there's certain points in the game where Ham needs to just say, okay, I'm going to let LeBron sit for the next 8 minutes because we're fine without him right now. And I think that, you can't be so dependent on LeBron. You just can't do that, in my opinion. But the Lakers, the most impressive stat about the Lakers last night was they outscored the Wolves 29-16 on the way out for that game. They only gave up 12 points in the fourth quarter. They gave up 4 in overtime. So they only gave up a total of 16 points. You have to understand, before they got to the fourth quarter, the Wolves had scored 86 points, okay? And the Wolves at one point were up 15 points at that moment as well, too. The Lakers, luckily enough, went ahead and made a great run there late, because the Lakers went in there and were down 7 going into the fourth quarter, which they needed to be. And the Lakers wound up getting but it was I keep it real. It was an ugly fourth quarter. It was a very ugly fourth quarter. Lots of turnovers, missed shots, all that stuff. And these teams combined for 40 turnovers in all last night as well, too. Both of them had 20 apiece. And the Lakers were really good on the offensive rebounding end. And that's what the difference was in this game. And that's what put the Lakers over the top. They had 12 offensive rebounds to 4. They also out-rebounded Minnesota 48-37. But I thought Minnesota had a great effort last night. They led most of the game. I know a lot of people were like, well, they didn't have Rudy Gobert, and they didn't have McDaniels, and they didn't have Naz Reid. And it's like, who cares if they didn't have their 2 7-footers playing? At the end of the day, if they had their 2 7-footers and Jaden McDaniels and all these guys were healthy the last 3 weeks, would they be in a play-in? No, they wouldn't. So, all this stuff about these guys being this, that, and the third, they're not here. So it doesn't matter. And they still stepped it up last night. I really felt like a lot of fans acted like the Wolves were some type of JV team or some type of team that is not capable of beating the Lakers because they were missing Rudy Gobert. Yeah, okay, Rudy Gobert is not that big of an offensive threat. So when you got a guy like that, it's okay sometimes when you don't have him, because what are you missing? Yeah, okay, he's blocking shots and getting rebounds, but you got Cat to do that as well too. And Cat had himself a game last night as well. And the biggest reason why Minnesota lost last night was because Anthony Edwards was absolutely shackled last night. He could only get off dunks last night. He hit no threes, none of that stuff last night. So, there's just a lot of things that did not go in Minnesota's favor, but Minnesota was not the favorite to win this game. They had a great effort and wound up falling short. It's just that simple. And I think that they still make the playoffs, but just last night, it just was not enough. And, Karl Anthony Towns was great. He had 24 points, and Mike Conley was just excellent. I wish Mike Conley would have wound up being on the Lakers in that Westbrook deal. It seems like Minnesota is the one that got the best player out of anybody, and he had 23 points last night. He hit 6 of 8 from 3.3 as well too, and he hit 3 crucial free throws to push the game to overtime as well too. So, this team came to win last night. It's that simple. You know what I mean? They came to win. And the Lakers answered the call, and they wound up going ahead and winning the game. It's that simple. I saw people blaming Darvin Ham for the LeBron turnover, and I'm like, well, he's not the one who passed the ball. It was Austin Reeves. It's like, okay, you have to make the players more accountable. Stop putting everything on the coach. I don't like Ham that much either, but I'm not going to just always blame him for when they make mistakes. Ham is doing the best possible job he can, but the coaches can't go out there and play for you. And the Lakers were very fortunate last night that they were able to get all the breaks there in the end. It's just that simple. And it happens in the NBA. You know what I mean? So The Lakers wound up winning that game 108-102. They were supposed to win the game. Everybody had them circled to win the game as well, too. But you got to put a little theater on it. And that's exactly what happened last night. So Lakers get a great win, 108-102. They will be back Sunday to play the Grizzlies on national television. You know that game's coming on ABC. They don't even need to tell me. I know that game's coming on ABC. And the winner of Friday's game between the Wolves and whomever wins tonight is going to be the AFC, and they'll be playing Sunday night in Denver. All right, let's go ahead and move forward. Let's talk about our next topic in hand, which is going to be the NBA playing. And up first, we got the number 10 Bulls, 40-42, going at the Raptors, 41-41. These teams have been very, very much the same this season. They've had moments where they really dominated. Then they had moments where they really struggled. The Bulls coming into this have won their last 3 out of 5, including 2 in a row. And they had a pretty decent March as well, too. They went ahead and they won 9 games in March, and they actually wound up losing 6. So all in all, they're 12-8 in their last 20, from what I'm seeing here. I'm trying to get everything right with how they played Toronto this year. Last time they played Toronto on the 28th, they lost by 6 in Toronto. And, you know, Toronto's a team that, like I said, they got off to a really slow start to start the season. Now they're right where they want to be. Bulls only beat this team once this year. They beat them 111-97 in Chicago. And then they lost by 9 to them in Toronto. So this game looks a lot closer than it should be on paper, but I know that the Raptors are getting the edge because they're healthier. Let's just keep it real. And the Raptors, same deal. They won their last 3 out of 5 as well, too. They won their last game before the playoffs, beating the Bucks. In March, they actually won 7 games and wound up going 7-7. So that was able to get them into the mix right here. This is a really, really, really intriguing game, in my opinion. This one winds up being one that really makes you think a little bit. You know what I mean? But I say this, if anything, playing the scoreboard would be great. But I like the Bulls here. I think the Bulls have one last big game in them. And I think the Bulls really do want to be that team that winds up in the playoffs. But I know that the Heat probably are not going to lose Friday night after they lost last night. But I would say that the better matchup for them would be the Raptors. But I think that Chicago is going to have some say about this tonight. You know, and I think if Chicago winds up playing the Heat, then all bets are off on the Heat, in my opinion. And I think that the Bulls probably want to get one last good win in for the season and give their fans the opportunity to root for them to get into the playoffs. You know what I mean? The Bulls are still a proud franchise. Let's just keep it real. But all in all, this should be a really good game tonight. But my whole point about these 9-10 play-ins, when I see 40-42 and 41-41, and then I see last night's game where you have 44 going against 44 and 38 going against 41-41, I'm just like, why are we doing this? Seriously, these teams don't even have winning records. You know what I mean? They're not even over 500. Who cares? You didn't make the playoffs. Why are we over here? Why are we entertaining this? Seriously, why are we entertaining it? There's no point. You know, it's just more games for more money for the NBA. And I know that the TV people are not happy about this at all. They're just not, because the thing is, these teams really did not deserve the right to be in the playoffs. They missed. It's that simple. Understandable with the Raptors. They're 41-41. The Hawks were 41-41. That means that they play for the A spot. Why does Miami have to be involved in this? You know what I mean? I say that you do a play-in if you need to do a play-in. You don't do a play-in just to do a play-in. Okay? So let's move forward to another game. And I just really feel like the games are really meaningless. That's the whole thing, because neither one of these teams, you really have it in your head that they're going to win Friday. You really don't. You just don't. Sorry, you don't. And out of this time that we've been doing this, there's been one team that was not a 7 or 8 that made the playoff, and that was Ja Morant in the Grizzlies. You know what I mean? So, it's dumb. It's just stupid. All right, Thunder 40-42, Pelicans 42-40, 5.5-point favorite to the Pelicans, over under 227. Zion is still chilling on the bench. They say he's healthy, but they just don't want to push it. I don't know how long they're going to be using that. We just don't want to push it excuse, but it's starting to get a little tired. Now, they did finish up the month 2-2. They did keep their season alive because at one point they were the 13 seed. Everybody was sitting there at the 12 and 13 for a moment. They're 11, 12, and 13. Every single one of these teams that are in the playing group were out of the playing group for at least 2 or 3 games as well too. The Lakers was out of the playing group until last month. So you got Oklahoma City, who was impressive here. They were very impressive. You know what I mean? They were very impressive all season because this team wound up going 40-42. This team did not have that expectation this season. They didn't. This team had the expectation of maybe winning games, maybe winning about 16 to 17 games this year. It would have been seen as a great season if they would have won 25. At maxed out at 25 wins. No, they went ahead and did it a little bit better. They won 40 games, and their rookie that they drafted was out the whole season. So, they got that working in their favor for next year, that they got Chet Holmgren coming back, and he should have about 20 pounds worth of muscle on him next season, and he should be ready to go ahead and restart his NBA career, and hopefully he can go in the right direction. But I know everybody wants to blame LeBron because that's why he hurt his foot, because he wanted to play in a pro-am against LeBron, wound up splitting the bottom of his foot, and he was out. So we don't know how good he can be, and we don't know how effective he's going to be because it is a foot injury. So, they lucked up because they really were like, okay, this team is automatically drafted number 1. They're going to get Victor Wembanyama and all that good stuff. And, pretty much they'll just be moving on because they already have 5 picks in the draft this year anyway. So they'll be okay. No, they wasn't hearing none of that. They showed that they had some ready players, some players that are ready for the big moments and things like that, and wound up being the best dog in the league when it came to covering the spread. It's that simple. And they finished second in being a straight up dog, winning the game. So this team is really a team that you do have to look out for. And they went 2-2 to close out the month. And then they had a pretty good March as well, too. They wound up winning 9 games in March, and they only wound up losing 7 games. So this team is another team that, 11-9 in their last 20. And then you got this Pelicans team that really, really had to go through the gusto to get here. You know what I mean? And they wound up winning their last 3 out of 5. On the season. They lost that Minnesota game. That's what kept them out of playing the Lakers last night. But like I said, they had a great March. They had a 5-game winning streak in March. They closed out that month, winning their last 6 out of 7 games. Also, they went ahead and won 10 games last month as well, too. They went 10-6. And as I said, this is a team that went out and actually finished up 13-8 to finish up the season. So they're playing probably their best basketball right now without Zion. So they're going to be a heavy favorite coming into this game tonight, rightfully so, at 5.5. But I still think that this winds up being a scoreboard game, and that's what I like here. But I truly do think that the Pelicans, since they're at home, it's going to be really tough to beat them at home because they're a really good home team. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But that's going to be our games in the NBA tonight for the play-in. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. And when I get back, we're going to go ahead and jump into MLB Wednesday night. But we'll be talking Blue Crew Daily before that. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, PrimeTime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune into Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, here we are. Let's go ahead and jump into it. We have ourselves a very, very, very fun baseball day today. A lot of games going on as we speak right now. It was more day games than it was night games today. So pretty much let's go ahead and talk about Blue Crew Daily. Dodgers lose last night 5-0. May winds up, running into a buzzsaw last night. Alex Wood, the former Dodger, had a good night against him. So, it's starting to become a little bit of a consistent thing with the Dodgers this month. You win one, you lose one. But at one point, the Dodgers had won 3 in a row, and then they lost, and then they lose 3 out of 4. And, this is why we're sitting now with the Dodgers sitting at 6-6, but they have really dropped their last 4 out of 5. So the Dodgers really do need to get back up on a good foot because they got a little exposed in Arizona last weekend. And I think that they really haven't got back, even though they had a great game on Monday night. Julio Urias is the most consistent pitcher the Dodgers got. He's now 3-0 on the season, okay? And pretty much the next night was going to be the judge of what the Dodgers can do. And Dustin May was absolutely wrecked early, where he got absolutely it just wasn't good for him yesterday. He didn't give up a whole ton of hits, but he did give up 4 walks yesterday. He only pitched 5 in a 1/3 innings yesterday. He only gave up 2 runs. Okay, Jai Peterson hit an early RBI double off of him, but still, he needed to be a little better yesterday. And he struck out 3, only pitched 77 pitches. He's still coming around, you know what I mean? But the Dodgers really got blew up when Evan Phillips got out there, man. Evan Phillips got absolutely crushed. The guy gave up 3 earned runs, and that was the difference in the game. The Dodgers, being down 0-2 for the Dodgers, that's not a big deal. But when you go into the 8th inning and a guy hits a 2-run shot off you, then Crawford comes right behind him and hits another shot. Yeah, it's pretty much over after that point. So that's exactly what happened last night to the Dodgers. The Dodgers just were not in that game last night. So pretty much the woes continue where the Dodgers, I would say, got good pitching last night. They only gave 5 runs, but they got no runs. So it looks really bad on paper. But it was a bad night last night. I keep it real. The Dodgers got 3 hits in total. Mookie was able to work 3 walks last night, but he worked 3 walks, but he struck out as well too. Then you had Freeman who in a rare 0 for 5 last night and struck out 3 times as well too. So that brings his average down to a whopping 375. All right. Will Smith was absolutely nowhere to be found last night as well either. He didn't strike out last night. He just didn't get on base. JD Martinez was decent. And you already know Thompson's going to get a lot of love because he got a hit last night. Everybody wants to have Thompson in every single game, but we have the most crowded outfield ever, so that's going to be tough to do. But Chris Taylor striking out 3 times yesterday, that's no good. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's no good. The Dodgers were just absolute wreck. They struck out 11 times yesterday. They wound up leaving 11 guys on base. So you know what time it is. Will Smith left 2 guys and left runners in scoring position twice. Miguel Rojas, same. So these are things that have to get fixed like tonight. You know what I mean? But it's still early in the season. We don't have to get into it. But tonight's game, as we preview it, you got Clayton Kershaw on the mound, who's 1-1 this year, 3.75 ERA, 13 strikeouts to 2 walks this year. Also, you got Alex Cobb coming into the game. Alex Cobb, 2.53 ERA, 12 strikeouts, 1 walk this year. He lost the last time out because he pitched to Jim, but he couldn't get any run support when the Kansas City played the Giants. So tonight he's looking for some run support because he should be in his regular bag because he's averaged 6 strikeouts in each of his first games. And then you got Kershaw, who had a great opening start against the Diamondbacks, but then came back around and was absolutely dreadful when it came down to the big spot when he played against Arizona 6 days later and wound up giving up 4 runs and walked 2, but he did strike out 4. So he's 1-1, and now he gets to pitch against the team that is not the Arizona Diamondbacks. So, you know, his history against the Giants, it's either going to be a big day for Clay or a day where Clay gets shelled. So I really don't know where to go to in this game, but the Dodgers do need to win it, but it's not going to end the season if they don't. You know what I mean? But they do want to get this first series out the way in San Francisco with a series win. So if the Dodgers do win tonight, they take the first 2 out of 3 here, and they'll be back at home tomorrow night. And they got themselves the Chicago Cubs coming into town. And then Monday they have the Mets, and then they're back on the road on the weekend playing against the Cubs. And then on my birthday, they'll be back in Pittsburgh for a 3-game homestand. Then they wrap it up at the end of the month in Los Angeles against the Cardinals. So the Dodgers, I would say right now, the way San Francisco is playing and the way that the Cubs are playing, these are going to be better games for them. But the Mets are going to be difficult because the Mets are always difficult. Then going back east for the first time this year, you're going to have to see exactly what it is with the Pirates. The Pirates actually swept the Dodgers last year at Chavez Ravine. So, you know, these are things that you do have to factor in. And right now, this game is the most important game of the week, in my opinion. I think that you want to always get off to a good start against the Giants because the Giants are always the barometer the Dodgers set themselves on. So this should be a game that they see as a very keen, important game to them. And also, you know, they're saying MLB to Salt Lake City. They already have a minor league team there. I think that, you know, we're starting to get a little bit besides yourself. We got a lot of minor league towns that they're starting to look at a little bit, but I wouldn't do Salt Lake City. You know, I think that you're kind of stepping on toes with the Colorado Rockies, but that's just something that I saw right now. So let's go ahead and move on. We got MLB Wednesday night. We got a bunch of MLB tonight. We got a bunch of MLB tonight. So pretty much let's go ahead and jump into that. We do have a very, very good. We don't have a lot tonight because we only have so many games here for the night game. But, you know, we got good games here in our night group. Let me get you guys a quick update on scores as well, too. As you guys already know, if you didn't know, the Astros did win the first game of the day. That started at 9:35 West Coast time. They beat the Pirates 7-0. The Guardians went ahead and actually got beat today. They got beat 4-3, but we get the under 9.5 in that spot with the Yanks and the Guardians. We played the under. We also have the Astros on the -1.5 as well too. Then the White Sox, we didn't have anything going on in that game, but the White Sox lose to the Twins 3-1. Twins improve to 8-4 as well. Two Yankees go to 8-4. Astros still below 500, but they're 6-7. And then you have the Padres today lose. They're 7-5 now, and then the Mets put themselves back into the 500 category with this 5-2 win over the Padres. So that's a quick update for you on final scores. Now, games that are going right now, you have the Mariners who are in the bottom of the 7th inning. They're up 3-1 over the Cubs at Wrigley. Then you have the Cardinals Rockies at Coors Field here in the bottom of the 5th. They're up 3-2. The Brewers and the Diamondbacks in Arizona right now. The Diamondbacks are up 1-0 in the top of the 3rd. Marlins Phillies are deadlocked in the bottom of the 1st. And then you got the Nats and the Angels over at the Big A right now, 0-0 here in the bottom of the 1st as well, too. So those are your updates right now in the baseball world. So let's go ahead, jump into our first game, and that's going to be the A's and the Orioles. I know we already talked about this week. We already had a review on it, but this is the late game. It's the late game, brother. It's the late game. And I'm so perturbed with the A's right now because the A's were absolutely incredible for about 5 innings yesterday. The A's found themselves up 7-3, hit a 3-run shot. You know, we're all feeling good, feeling great. You know, big 3-run shot from Shea Langlers, who that was off the hook. They had a great inning. They were down 2-3 going into the inning. They wound up scoring 5 runs in the inning. And that 3-run shot was really like a real like, y'all better respect it. Y'all thought we was going to have one of them days today, huh? And it wasn't. It wound up being something that motivated the Orioles because right after that, Ryan Mountcastle comes up and hits a 3-run shot in the bottom of the 5th. And then Austin Hayes comes back around, who scored on that Ryan Mountcastle home run, and he goes 430 feet, 30 foot. He hits a 430 foot shot to the deep left center corner, and then to deep left center. Then we had Ryan Mountcastle again do a curtain call and go ahead and hit a straight-up grand slam that literally just ended the game. Austin Hayes was pretty good, too, yesterday. He added the RBI that put them ahead as well, too, in the 7th inning. All what the A's could do was muster up a quick run late in the game in the 9th inning, and that was it. Today, the A's have a pitcher on the mound that got absolutely shellacked last time out, and he got shellacked in the opener as well, too, and that's Wally DeChuck. And then you got Dean Creamer, who's been getting absolutely annihilated, too. So you got 2 guys that are easy to hit. And you look at this and say, well, Baltimore is the better hitting team. The A's, you know, that's probably one of their better days of the next week or so. I say this. I say that the A's really, if I was the A's, I know I can beat this team. And I know they ain't got much on the pitching end. And I know the Orioles are saying the same thing. So let's just go ahead and rock another over here. I like the over 9. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. The first game, 4-1. Yesterday, 8-12. Today, I think that we still go ahead and get a lot of runs for both these teams that have reservations for the basement in their respective divisions. But I don't know about them Orioles, though. I think the Orioles got something up their sleeve. Man, I can keep it real. I think they got something up their sleeve. All right, so we move forward. Let's go ahead and talk about the Rays and the Red Sox. This game is going to be in Tampa today as well, too. You got a Red Sox team coming in here 5-6. You got the Rays 11-0, looking to complete their 4th sweep of the season with the Red Sox against the Red Sox. Funny thing last night, real quick. I watched the Babe Ruth movie. I've seen it plenty of times before, but watching it as an adult was different. I watched the Babe Ruth movie with John Goodman in it last night, and when he was with the Red Sox, that boy was green. That boy was real rough around the edges. That's all I can say. He didn't know. Boy didn't know nothing. They handed him some money, and he was running around, just spinning it on everything, moving. You know what I mean? He said, I want a bike and I want a dame. I'm like, damn, Babe Ruth. All right, so you got this Boston team who's right now in the month of April 5-5. They were pretty cool, pretty good, and they wound up getting themselves a good little opening day loss to Baltimore, of course. But this team is trying to bounce back, trying to break this winning streak of the Rays. The Rays are absolutely incredible right now. They've won their first 10 games here in the month of April. As I said before, they're working on their fourth sweep. Actually, they're going to play Boston tomorrow, but I would say they're working on their fourth winning series at least. You know what I mean? But they're trying to continue this run right here. They got Boston for another 2 days. Then they got the weekend versus Toronto. And then they got Cincinnati. And then they got the Chicago White Sox back at home. And then Houston as well, too. That would be crazy that they might be still undefeated by the time they play Houston. But I doubt it. I think that they're going to Toronto this weekend. They're going to lose one of those in Toronto this weekend. But when I look at today's game, I don't trust the Red Sox, man. The Red Sox got swept by the Pirates. Pirates aren't bad. They aren't bad. But sweeping the Red Sox was kind of, we didn't see it coming. Now, Chris Sale did absolutely tremendous against Detroit, but he got absolutely blown up by the Baltimore Orioles. Luckily enough for him, though, that team went on a nice little run, and he wound up winning, and they wound up winning that game, but not because of him. And pretty much they're going against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is better than both of them, Baltimore and Detroit. So this is an easy call for me. I know Taj Bradley is making his debut today and everything like that, but I think he's a high-end prospect, and they've developed him pretty good. And these guys always seem to do pretty good on debut. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Rays today on a kind of a tricky bet, because in reality, they should be a big dog today. They should be a plus 120, plus 130 dog, but they're making them the favorite today. So I'm going to take them to actually win this game by 2 or more runs. I like them with the minus 1.5. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. Plus 160 on that bad boy as well, too. You're getting plus 160 on a run line on a team that's undefeated. You got to ride that wave, baby. You got to ride that wave. All right, so let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward to our next game, which is going to be the Tigers and the Blue Jays. The Tigers and the Blue Jays. You got Eddie Rodriguez in here pitching today, going against Kevin Gossman. Kevin Gossman, who got major paid because he had that big season in San Francisco back in 2021. So he's a well-paid pitcher now, who's doing a pretty good job in Toronto as well, too. The Tigers tonight have on the mound, they have, I already said it, Eddie Rodriguez, the former Red Sox. He was actually seen as the Red Sox next big-time pitcher, and it just didn't work out that way for him. You know what I mean? It just did not work out that way for him. And he wound up getting to Detroit last year. And let's keep it real, he was probably one of the better pitchers for Detroit, but he didn't get to pitch a whole season. He was shut down after 17 games of pitching. He pitched 17 games last year. That was it. He went 5-5. Right now, he's 0-2 on the season. And I think that when you look at the way that he went about his business in the last game, he didn't get many runs, and it was Houston. And he did only give up 4 runs in this game, and he walked 2. But he was really good against Tampa Bay in the opener. It's just, once again, he couldn't get any runs. I had the Tigers actually upsetting them that day, and he couldn't get any runs, but he pitched them really well. That's the thing. So with Eduardo, you can always figure that he's going to pitch very well for your team. But he's also been a guy that's always given up runs as well, too. So this is going to be a game that I truly do feel is going to wind up being a game that absolutely goes over. Yeah, Gaussman only gave up 3 runs in the first game, and he gave up any runs in the next game. And he's averaging 7 strikeouts a game as well, too. So that's something that to look at. He's 1-1 coming into the game. He's not walking a lot of guys either. But I still think tonight against the batters that he's going to be facing, I don't think that they take the Tigers as seriously as they should. And we know the best offense in baseball right now is the Blue Jays. So I expect offense. So I like the over in this spot. And we're going to be rocking with the over. I should have it in front of me, but I got so many other things in front of me. We're going to be rocking actually with the under 8.5 with the Tigers and the Jays. Not the over. We're going to be taking the under. Sorry about that. But we got the 8.5. I thought we had an over 8, but really at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I think the Tigers, Eduardo gives up runs. Gaussman doesn't give up runs that much. You know what I mean? But let's just say this. It's going to be a somewhat of a pitcher's duel. I think that both these pitchers are really good. And they're probably the best pitchers that they can throw out there right now. We know that Rodriguez is the ace of the staff. And we know Gaussman gets paid to be the ace of the Blue Jays. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. And we'll go from there. Man, you guys are coming in like 30 minutes late. We already talked about the Pels and the Thunder and all that good stuff. I guess you might just have to watch the show over, boss, because I already talked about the Pels and the Thunder. I would say that you pretty much go with the home team in that spot. That's what you probably will want to do in that game tonight. And I don't mean to be an ass or anything. It's just that I did that game a lot earlier. So let's go ahead and jump into the Royals and the Rangers. Royals, Rangers. Okay, this one right here, we got Billy Keller on the mound today, and then he's going against the old vet Evaldi, Brad Keller, actually. Brad Keller, who it's a, you look at this one and say to yourself, I don't know. Because Keller is a guy that works a lot of walks and strikeouts. Last game, he had 3 walks. Game prior to that, 4. He had 7 on the season and to 9 strikeouts. But he's only given up 3 runs as well, too. So that's something to tip your hat to. When you look at his seasons, he was their best pitch. He was really good in 2020. And that's what I'm looking at right now. But the last 2 years, he's been all right. You know what I mean? But all in all, I think Brad Keller is a guy that we can trust going into this game. Nathan Evaldi is always kind of running into some problems. He didn't get blown up, but they did lose to Philly. They wound up losing to Philly with the they didn't lose to Philly. They beat Philly, but he gave up 3 runs that day. And then they also had the Cubs, which was a win for Evaldi. And that was good because it was a loss. I'm sorry. They blew him up. What the hell am I talking about, dude? He got blew up on Friday. So pretty much tonight against KC, but it got better though. When you look at his ERA to start the year was 5.40, now it's at 4.22. So I truly do think what happens here in this game tonight is this. The Royals owe me money from last week. They had the Blue Jays. We had the Blue Jays right where we wanted them at. We had Zach Greinke on the mound. We was at home. You got to win that game for me. They came back around and they took care of business for me over the weekend. Big dog special on Friday, but they weren't the dog of the day that day. Today, I'm going to go ahead and take them in the final game here in their series against the Rangers. They lost the first 2 games of this series, but I feel like they were going to come to Texas and get a win out of this situation regardless. And tonight will be the night. So I'm going to take them with the plus 140 as my dog of the day, and that's going to be the Kansas City Royals. All right, so with that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break, and when I get back, we're going to go ahead and jump into Talking Tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper.
horses and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, here we are. Let's go ahead and jump into this. We have ourselves some really, really good games in the group tonight. Got some really good games in the group tonight. So let's go ahead and jump into them. Let's get into it. And what do we have here first? We have ourselves the Talkin Tickets. So here we are with the Talkin Tickets, and there we are up first. Is going to be this right here. It's going to be the play-in teaser, 4 points. We got the over 208.5 with the Bulls and the Raptors, and then we got the Pelicans tonight with the -1.5. That's a 4-point job right there, and pretty much when you guys do go in for it, it'll be -120, but you have to put them together. That's why I put them together and just said Talkin Tickets on here for you guys. All right, so here goes our primetime pick 4 for tonight. Yes, I don't have the Dodger game up here for you for a reason. I just don't want to be throwing y'all on games if I don't even know what's going to happen in that game. So I'm doing you a favor with that. You don't need to bet every single game sometimes. You just need to go ahead and get the games that are suitable for you. And I feel like these are the games that are suitable for you tonight. I like the over 9 with the A's and the Orioles. And then I also like the 1.5 on the Rays plus 160. And then I also like this under 8.5 with the Tigers and the Jays. And then we wrap it up with the Royals at the plus 140 as our bet us dog bet of the day. So with that, that's going to be a wrap on today's show. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. As usual, you guys are the absolute best. You guys know that. You know that. You know you're the best. So thanks for tuning in. I'll be back to you tomorrow. I got the Mike Abadir show at 4 as well, too. Might possibly be on with Jeff as well, too. Just depends on what the schedule is for Jeff. We couldn't do Tuesday because he ran into a little bit of personal stuff. So hopefully we can go ahead and get the show going either tomorrow or Friday, our weekly midday report. But all in all, be ready for a jam-packed day of DiBiase. And so I can't wait. Hopefully you can't wait. And as I always like to say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving. And this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase. And I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.